الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, we still have a couple of weeks to be done with the story of Yusuf, but before that, we will still continue talking about him because there's a lot to learn. And as we said before, his story is so dramatic, it addresses a lot of aspects of life, and if we implement what we learn from his story, we can be successful in our lives, and we can make a difference in the lives of those people that we're dealing with. So last week we said that after mounting pressure on his half-brothers to bring his full brother Benjamin, they finally agreed to bring him, and this time they had to work hard to convince their father, and they had to swear some solemn oaths that they would take him back because their father had gotten an experience when at the beginning they convinced him to let Yusuf go and play with them. They never brought him back. So this time around his father told them, I can't do the same mistake allowing you to go with Benjamin after you failed to bring back Yusuf, but if you insist, then you have to swear some solemn oaths that you're going to bring him. So because they were in desperate need of provisions, and there was no way for them to survive without help from the high minister. So their father Yaqub had nothing to do except to allow Benjamin to go with them. But however, after allowing them to go, he stayed behind praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect them, and he instructed them to implement some safety measures when entering into the land of Egypt. So finally, they were able to make it with Benjamin. Yusuf was very, very happy, and he planned it very well. He made sure that he ate with his brother Benjamin. He slept with him, as we said before. He paired them, each two together on the dining table, and then Benjamin remained alone. There were 10, including Benjamin. There were 11. So each two had a partner, but each two were together. Only Benjamin, he didn't have anyone. So Benjamin cried and said, if my brother were around alluding to Yusuf, I would have been paired with him. Little did he know that the high minister of the same Yusuf he was talking to. So when it was time to go to bed, he did the same, pairing them together, each two, sleeping in one room, and Benjamin was left alone. So finally, he slept, Yusuf alayhi salam, slept with his full brother Benjamin, until finally he revealed to him that he was his full brother. So now he made a plan. He agreed with Benjamin that, I want to keep you. I don't want you to go back. So what I will do is, I will order my servants to insert secretly my royal cup into your baggage, so that when you depart the city, someone will announce that something has been stolen, and finally we will find it in your bag. And according to the law of Yaqub of the Canaanites, not the law of Egypt, if someone stole, then he would be beaten up, and he would pay twice the amount of the item stolen. So for example, if someone stole a watch, so you pay twice the amount of that watch and you get beaten. That was according to the law of Egypt. But according to the law of Canaan, the law of Yaqub, it was if you steal, then you serve the person you stole from until the agreement is over, until he will limit the time, or he will determine the time which you have to serve him. So until the end of this term, you will be with him. So we will see how those half-brothers of Yusuf agreed to be judged according to the law of their land, not the law of the land where theft happened. So here, first of all, we need to discuss. So Yusuf alayhi salam plans with his brother Benjamin that he will get someone, insert his royal cup, sometimes it's called tankard or goblet. Anyway, it was a cup that was a multi-purpose asset of Yusuf alayhi salam. He would use it to drink and to measure the amount of some seeds and some foodstuffs. So the question was, why would Yusuf do this? Something that would shame his brother, appearing that he was a thief, because people wouldn't know what happened between both of them. So scholars and historians gave us answers to this. They said Yusuf was very desperate to detain his brother for the following reasons. So he thought about it, he pitched his wits to make sure that Benjamin remained behind. And the best way he could have done it was to make Benjamin appear that he's tall so that he could remain and serve, remain and stay with him. And as we said before, for example, if someone steals and you punish him, so there are many reasons for punishing that person, so that he doesn't steal again, or so that you send a message to the victim, the person that was stolen from, that you know, we take care of you, we take care of your property, and to be a lesson to others that don't ever think about stealing. But this was an agreement between Yusuf and Benjamin. And actually it was to the benefit of both and the benefit of the family. So for example, if someone does a crime and you punish him, he will suffer. But here, Benjamin remaining behind, he was going to enjoy, and his brother was going to enjoy. So scholars and historians tell us that due to the fact that Benjamin was the second most beloved son to his father Yusuf, so to his father Yaqub, then his full brother Yusuf was concerned that he might have been mistreated by his half-brothers. So Yusuf was bringing back the memories when he was still young, when he was taken, when they wanted to get rid of him because he was the most beloved son of his father, and now he knows his full brother Benjamin is the second most beloved son of his father after Yusuf. Now, during the absence of Yusuf, so Benjamin becomes the most beloved son of his father. And this would create some animosity from his brothers. So why does our father like him more than us? So Yusuf was concerned that if he allowed Benjamin to go back with them, he would continue suffering at their hands because of jealousy, because he himself had experienced it. So it was to the benefit of Benjamin to remain behind. Number two, he wanted his half-brothers to return for him, for Benjamin, so that he, Yusuf, would officially introduce himself to them and then encourage them to bring the remaining family members. So what the second reason was, he thought maybe this time when I give them provisions, they are clever people, hardworking, they might have gotten other sources of provisions and don't come back. So he wanted them to come back. Another motivation to bring them back was to look for Benjamin, or to come back to plead with Yusuf to release Benjamin. So the main point was he wanted to see his entire family by detaining Benjamin. And number three, it was another way of testing Prophet Yaqub's patience, as prophets and messengers were severely tested more than anyone else. So according to hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a person is tested according to his faith. If his faith is strong, then he will be severely tested more than anyone else. And the prophets and messengers were tried and tested more than anyone else. So this was also another aspect of testing the mettle of Yaqub alayhi salam, missing two of his sons. And actually, as we will see, there were not only two. It was first Yusuf, then Benjamin, then Reuben, as we will see. So before I continue, I have these quotes here. Our family is a circle of strength, founded on faith, joined in love, and kept by Allah, by God. So family is a circle of strength. Being together, loving each other as family members, this is a source of strength. So this strength is founded on faith. From the Islamic point of view, we help one another. We strengthen the bonds we strengthen the bonds of kinship, because this is an act of worship. So we do it because our faith encourages us to do it, and the family is joined in love and kept by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then another one says, you don't choose your family, they are God's gift to you. You don't choose your family, they are God's gift to you. So if you don't choose your family, and this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you have to treasure this gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Another quote says, and actually this is a hadith, if Allah wants to do good to somebody, He afflicts him with trials. This hadith was narrated by Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yusud minhu. So if Allah wants to do good to someone, He will first afflict him with trials, and in them, this person will emerge victorious. As we will see, Yaqub is suffering, Yusuf was suffering at the beginning, he ended up being a high minister, a prophet, and of course he will be in paradise. So Yaqub alayhi salam suffered at the beginning, he lost his children, first of all, of whom was Yusuf, and finally they were reunited, being happy all together. Another quote says, Allah is the best of the planners. So you plan and Allah plans. And the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come to materialize. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُفْ مَا كَانَ لِيَأْخُذَ أَخَاهُ فِي دِينِ الْمَلِكِ. So translated as, thus did we plan it for Yusuf's sake. Never could he have taken his brother under the law of the king, except as Allah had willed. So as we said before, according to the law of Egypt, during those times, if you stole, you would be beaten up and forced to pay twice the amount of the item you stole. But according to the rule of Canaanites, the land of Yaqub, where the father of Yusuf and his brothers, it was if you stole, then you would serve the person whom you stole from as long as he wanted. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He is the one who planned, who helped Yusuf to think about this, to insert a cup in the baggage of Benjamin so that he remains behind. So there is another verse which goes, وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. It's translated as they were plotting and Allah was planning, and Allah is the best of the planners. Does anyone know the incident which this verse refers to? They were plotting and Allah was planning. What was the incident that Allah was referring to in this verse? Does anyone know? It was referring to the incident when the polytheists of Mecca were fed up with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They had tried all possible means to dissuade him from Islam, but the more they tried to prevent him from Islam, the more he grew stronger in faith. So they now decided to consult with one another to see what to do with the Prophet ﷺ. So one of them suggested to imprison him, another one suggested to drive him away, to force him into exile, another one suggested to kill him. So all of them agreed unanimously to kill him. So they surrounded his house, as you know the story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him their plan, and he came out with sand, he threw it into their faces, they were blinded, they couldn't see him until he escaped from Mecca to Medina. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after some time was reminding the Prophet ﷺ as to how the people were plotting against him, and Allah was planning to rescue him. And actually, by driving him out of Medina, out of Mecca, they thought that he would suffer in Medina, but that was the source of strength. After 8 years in exile, he went back to Mecca to liberate it. So in all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Yusuf, telling Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and anyone else, if you struggle for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want to do things within the parameters of Islam, Allah will be on your side. Even if people will try to plot against you, Allah will plan for you and you will eventually succeed. So I have some quotes here also. My life may not be going the way I planned it, but it is going exactly the way Allah planned it. So you might plan the way you want your life to be, it might not go there, it might not go the way you like it, but it will be according to the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you do what you can, and after trying the means of success, you leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is another quote which says, Allahu yakfi, Allah is enough. Another one says, one who remembers Allah is never alone. One who remembers Allah is never alone. Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was in jail, he was always remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever he did, he would always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now it's time to search the baggage. So each one's bag or pack saddle is going to be searched, because an announcer had said that they were missing the goblet of the king, the cup of the king, the royal cup. So what was happening? So the people, the caravan in which the brothers of Yusuf were, they were surprised. They said, no one can steal. So they forced them to search to see who indeed stole the goblet or the tankard. So about this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْعِيَتِهِمْ قَبْلَ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا مِنْ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ. So then Yusuf began the search in their bags before coming to his brother's bag. Then he pulled the goblet out from his brother's bag. So actually now an announcer had announced that something is stolen, a royal cup is stolen, and the brothers and the people in the caravan were surprised. They said, we didn't come to spread mischief as we said before. So now it was time to search. And Yusuf himself was searching, but he didn't begin with his brothers. It was a plan, so he began with others. And finally, he searched his brother's bag, and they found the goblet, the tankard, the royal cup in it. And then it was manifest to someone, it was seemingly that Benjamin had stolen, yet he did, because it was a plan of him and his brother. So it is said that he did that, it said that he did that to avoid any accusation that he might have done it on purpose to retain his full brother, and that was a perfect way of executing his plan. In other words, he started searching the other people's bags before his full brothers, because otherwise people would have accused him that, you might have done it on purpose, you wanted to retain Benjamin, because people at this time didn't know that Benjamin was his full brother, but he was clever, he was bright, loyal, so he was someone that everyone would like to be with. So if Yusuf alayhi salam would have started would have started searching the bag of Benjamin, some people would have suspected him that, maybe it's a plan. So he decided to begin with the bags of others to avoid any suspicion. So after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about what happened. كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. The translation is, thus did we plan for Yusuf, for the sake of Yusuf, never could we have taken his brother under the law of the king except as Allah had willed. So Allah is telling us here that according to the law of Egypt, if anyone stole, as we said before, he would be beaten up, and then he would pay twice the price of the item he stole. But according to the law of Yaqub alayhi salam, the Canaanite law, if someone stole, then he would serve the person he stole from for an appointed time. So this is what Yusuf wanted, and actually they all agreed to judge according to the law of the land of these people, these brothers, not according to the law of Egypt, and all of them agreed. So it was in favor of Yusuf alayhi salam, and actually according to some historians, the half-brothers of Yusuf wanted to foil his plan, saying, we have to judge according to the law of Egypt. But some others said, no, we have to judge according to the law of Canaan. So it was made easy for Yusuf to fulfill his purpose by judging according to the law of Yaqub alayhi salam. So what is the meaning of this verse? It means we made it feasible for Yusuf to return his full brother as it was in the law of his father's land, the law of Yaqub. Some scholars and historians opine that Yusuf's brothers wanted to foil his plan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided him and made it possible for him to keep his full brother with him by those people allowing to be judged according to the rule of Canaan, the law of Yaqub alayhi salam. It is also said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cast in the hearts of Yusuf's half-brothers the urge to decline towards the law of their father's land and to agree with what was decided. So imagine, according to common sense, if you are in a foreign land and you commit a crime over there, you are judged according to the law of that area. But this time around, Yusuf's half-brothers, they insisted to be judged according to the law of their father, the law of their land. And actually, little did they know that by doing so, they were favoring Yusuf alayhi salam. They were helping Yusuf to fulfill his purpose of retaining his full brother Benjamin. So, as we said before, according to the law of the king of Egypt, or according to the law of Egypt at that time, if anyone stole, he would be beaten up and forced to pay twice the amount of the money, or twice the value of the stolen item. So if you stole, for example, 200 kg, you're beaten up and forced to pay 400. If it's an item, then they will value it in monetary terms, or they will force you to pay twice the amount or twice the price of that item. But these brothers agreed to be judged according to the law of Yaqub alayhi salam. So Allah completes the verse by saying, above every knowledgeable person, there is someone more knowledgeable. So actually, this verse is a very good lesson for us. Musa alayhi salam, for example, when he said that he was the most knowledgeable on earth, Allah proved him wrong by bringing Al-Khudr, who asked him a lot of questions. So anyone shouldn't claim to be fully knowledgeable or to be more knowledgeable than others. Everyone has knowledge in some aspect. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by telling us it's above every knowledgeable person, there is a knowledgeable person. How is this connected to the story of Yusuf? So we are still talking about how Yusuf planned with his full brother Benjamin, how a royal cup was secretly inserted into the bag of Benjamin, how some people were insisting to be judged according to the law of Egypt, and the majority at that time said we judge according to the law of Yaqub alayhi salam. So Allah ends it by saying, above every knowledgeable person, there is a more knowledgeable person. And actually, it means this first, and it also means above every knowledgeable person, there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whose knowledge is infinite. So even if you claim to be a planner, to be a clever person, to be a genius, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infinite knowledge, which is unlimited. So the question is, this phrase, above every knowledgeable person, there is a knowledgeable person, how is it connected to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, or to the event when his half brothers, agreed to be judged according to the law of their land? How is it connected? Does anyone know? Okay, let's see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. We raise in rank whomever we so will, and above every knowledgeable person, there is one who is all-knowing, that's Allah. This means also by guiding Yusuf to that plan, Allah raised him high in knowledge above others. Moreover, above every knowledgeable person, there is someone more knowledgeable than him, and Allah's knowledge is far above all. Now, actually, from this verse, there are a lot of lessons that we learn. First of all, even if you feel that you are very qualified, still there is something you can learn from others. Even we learn from animals. Even we learn from insects. For example, if you play karate or taekwondo, they take you to a forest to learn the movements of snakes. So you're learning from an animal. So you cannot be complacent that I can't learn, I can't listen to so and so. So you need to learn. So some brothers of Yusuf, they thought that by insisting to be judged according to the law of Egypt, then they would be safe. Little did they know that actually it was good for Yusuf alayhi salam to be judged according to the law of their land. So they were actually arguing among each other. The majority decided to rule according to the law of Canaan. So they thought by doing that, they would foil the plan of Yusuf, yet little did they know that actually they were going to give him what he wanted. Now here, there is something something subtle. Knowledge, if we seek knowledge, then this knowledge has to transform us, has to make us better people. In other words, having knowledge per se isn't enough. You have to make sure that you implement this knowledge in such a way that it will confer benefits to you. Number three, if you are knowledgeable, this knowledge has to be coupled with wisdom. You know, a lot of people have knowledge, but they don't have wisdom. A lot of people have knowledge and wisdom, but they don't behave well. They are arrogant. So if really you want your knowledge to impact your life, so you have to make sure your knowledge transforms you into a better person. It makes you humble. The more you learn, the more you want to learn, and you make sure that your knowledge benefits you. So the knowledge of Yusuf here benefited him. So Allah inspired him to convince them to judge according to the law of their land. And of course they didn't know him, and they were actually surprised. How come this is a high minister in this land and he's suggesting that we rule according to the law of our land? So Yusuf alayhi salam was using this knowledge in order for him to get what he wanted, to fulfill his purpose. So your knowledge has to be used in a positive way to fulfill your purpose, and never say that, you know, I know enough, or I know everything, I can't learn. And the purpose of knowledge is to transform your life. So if the knowledge you have cannot transform your life, then it's not knowledge. So it is also said that Yusuf's brothers were distinguished in knowledge. So the brothers of Yusuf were knowledgeable. They knew a lot. But Yusuf was more knowledgeable than them. So they wanted to use their knowledge to convince him to rule according to the law of their land. So thinking that if he ruled according to the law of their land, they would be safe. Little did they know, by doing that, they were actually helping him to fulfill his purpose. So it was also said that Yusuf was the most knowledgeable of all his brothers and the strongest in resolve. This is again another issue. You know, when we talked about al-ihsan, we said al-ihsan is divided into three categories. There is al-ihsanu fil qasd بتهذيبه علما وإبرامه عزما وتصفيته حالا. So of course, first of all, when the Prophet ﷺ was asked by Jibreel, what is al-ihsan? He said, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. So ihsan is to worship Allah as though you see Him. And if you don't see Him, then He sees you. So if you have this mentality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over you, you will try your best to be sincere in everything that you do. You will try your best to do things not according to your ulterior motives, to do things because you seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as such, Ibn al-Qayyim says, al-ihsan is divided into three categories. الإحسان في القصد بتهذيبه علما وإبراهيمه عزما وتصفيته حالة. Ihsan in your intention. So you have good intentions to do something good, but the intention isn't enough. This intention has to be adorned with knowledge. It has to be purified with knowledge. It has to be strengthened by resolve, and it has to be purified from ulterior motives. So three things. So yes, you have good intention. You have the intention to pray, but learn how to pray. So if you pray without knowledge, it's futile. So if you really want to pray, you have to learn how to pray. Number two, you should have the resolve. So you hear the adhan, don't say, I will pray after 5 minutes. Don't procrastinate. When the time is there and there is nothing, no justification for you to delay the act of worship, do it immediately and make sure you don't do it for anyone else. You make sure you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Yusuf had the resolve. He had knowledge and the resolve to implement the knowledge. It was not knowledge for show off, just credentials to show off. No, he was implementing it, so it impacted his life. And of course in the hereafter, Allah would reward him a lot. So if you remember when he was in jail, he was helping the people, advising them. He himself was suffering, but when he saw someone dejected, he would calm them down. He would give them hope. So Yusuf, not only did he have knowledge, but he had a strong resolve. Moreover, he did what he did being guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because in it there was great benefits for him, for Yusuf and his entire family, that would be realized in the near future, in that his father and all his family members would reunite with him after a long period of time. So Yusuf was doing all this looking at a bigger picture. And then this is a lesson for us. So when you decide to do something, look at the bigger picture. So don't look at tomorrow or after tomorrow. Plan in advance. You can plan for 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. So you always have a good picture. So Yusuf alayhi salam suffered a lot. They said a lot. They taunted him, his own brothers, as we will see. He was patient. He never reacted negatively to whatever they said, to whatever the situation was, because his purpose was to bring them together and then introduce himself and then forgive them all. So he didn't want to embarrass anyone, because if he did, then they wouldn't have come back. So he still wants to maintain this cordial relationship with his brothers, although they had mistreated him, because he wanted them to come together to acknowledge their mistakes, and then he would forgive them. So Al-Hasan al-Basri says, on his part says, above everyone endowed with knowledge is a more knowledgeable person, and Allah is the infinite knower of everything. So in other words, this is a lesson for us not to be complacent, to listen to someone, or not to think that because you have knowledge, you can fool others, you can lie to them, you can misguide them in order to gain your own purpose. So you might do that, but little do you know that the people you're dealing with, there might be someone who is more knowledgeable than you, or they can even use your knowledge, which you are using in a bad way in order to achieve your goals. They can use it in order to triumph over you. So we should always bear in mind that there is something more knowledgeable than us. So because this life is complementary, we complement one another. So someone might be knowledgeable in this aspect, another one in this. So when we share the knowledge all together, then we benefit. And actually, Ali ibn Abi Talib, karramallahu wajhahu, when he was talking about knowledge, he said, "Al-malu yazidu bil-infaq, al-malu yanqusu bil-infaq." So your wealth would decrease by spending it. Now, what it means, what he meant by spending it in unlawful ways, because from the Islamic point of view, if you spend it in a good way, it increases. The more you give, the more you get. So Ali ibn Abi Talib is, first of all, is saying from the perspective of people who have the mentality that if I give, it will decrease. So he says, according to the mentality of those people, the wealth will decrease by giving, or the wealth will decrease by spending it in illicit ways. But knowledge will increase by sharing it. The more you share, the more you learn. And actually, I always tell people the best way to learn is to teach. Because when you teach, you have to do research, you get questions, you have to research. So you yourself, you're learning. And the process of learning continues until the day of judgment. So no one can say, I have followed, I don't want to learn. And actually, as I usually say, every person who talks, there is something to benefit. Even if he's talking something negative, you will always benefit. For example, if he does something wrong, you say, okay, when I give a speech, I won't be like him. You're learning. So you're learning to avoid the mistakes that this person is committing when speaking, when doing this and that. So all in all, listening to knowledge, seeking knowledge is beneficial and is auspicious. And we shouldn't have the attitude that I know everything, I can't ask, I can't learn. If you have the opportunity to learn, avail of it. And actually, if you learn, first of all, to oblige to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then to seek your own interest, you're actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So by learning to improve your life, to transform your life, you are actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the intention should be, first, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah, and then for my own benefits. So if this is the attitude, Allah rewards you. So how did Yusuf's brothers defend themselves? Now at the beginning, they were denying, we didn't come to spread mischief in this land, we are not thieves, but the cup was found in the bag of Benjamin. So for them, they didn't know whether it was a plant or what. So now when it was found in the bags of Benjamin, they had to defend themselves. What did they say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. So they say, by Allah, very truly, you know well that we did not come to spread corruption in this land and that we are not thieves. Their accusers say, what then shall be the recompense for stealing if you are liars? The brother said, its recompense will be that the one in whose luggage it's found, he himself will be its recompense. Thus, do recompense the wrongdoers of stealing in our religion. So the half-brothers of Yusuf and Benjamin, when asked, if it so happens that we find the royal cup in any of your bags, so what should be the punishment? They themselves have said the punishment should be that that person will remain behind to serve the person he stole from. They decided it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so be it. So what did they say after it was proven that their half-brother stole? So they were still doubting that, Benjamin didn't steal, but when it was well established, what did they say? After the royal cup, which sometimes is called a tankard, we don't know how it looked like, but there's a picture there of a tankard, was removed from Benjamin's bag, his half-brothers were so ashamed that they remarked, as Allah says, قَالُوا إِنْ يَسْرِقْ فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخُ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. So they say, the brother said, if he has stolen, then truly a full brother of his had stolen before. They were alluding to Yusuf alayhi salam. So at the beginning, they were denying, our brother didn't steal, he is innocent. Now when it's proven that he stole, now they're trying to distance themselves. Now they're trying to divide their families. To give the impression that he's not a full brother, his full brother stole like him, so he's imitating his full brother. So before we continue, I have some quotes here. The first one, this one here says, a true relationship is two perfect people refusing to give up on each other. Yeah, a true relationship is two imperfect people refusing to give up on each other. So you are imperfect people, you know very well, but if someone does something wrong, you still support your brother or your friend. Another one says, brother and sister together are friends, ready to face whatever life sends. Brother and sister are friends, ready to face whatever life sends. Another one said, we were meant to be joined by blood, but we chose to be joined by love. So Allah, as we said, your family is given to you as a gift from Allah, but when you realize that this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have the choice to love them. So, was it right for them to say that? That if he steals his brother, his full brother had stolen before, was it right for them to say that? No. So, what should they have said? Any ideas? What should they have? It's their brother. Although he is a half brother, but he's a brother. So what now? At the beginning, they were defending him. They were saying, no, we didn't come to steal. But when when it was well established that Benjamin is the one who stole, of course they didn't like him as well, like Yusuf, because their father loved him more than them. So now they say that if he steals, his full brother had stolen before. So what should they have said?
Should have asked for mercy.
They should have asked for mercy. So that's number one. Number two, what else? You see, if you are brothers, you wear the stones together. So they shouldn't have even brought the story of his full brother, half brother, and actually by doing that, they are ruining their own reputation. So if really their half brother stole, then people would have the idea that this is a family of thieves. So this one stole and his full brother before, maybe after some time one of you will steal. And by doing that, they are discrediting themselves. They themselves are discrediting one another. As we said before, sometimes some women make mistakes and some men as well. So a woman is married to a man, she wants to prove her loyalty to him if she comes from a polygynous marriage, not polygamous, polygynous. We said before, those who were not in the class, polygamy is general, under there is polygyny and polyandry. Polygyny is when one man or a man is allowed to marry more than one wife at a time. Polyandry is when a woman marries more than one husband at a time. So if you say that polygamy is allowed in Islam, it implies that even polyandry is allowed. So we say polygyny is allowed, polyandry isn't allowed, so we have to specify. So if a woman comes from a polygynous family, she marries a man of her dreams, and then already she's married, she wants to prove her loyalty to him, she tells him, so and so is my full brother, my full sister, but so and so my half brother, my father doesn't like my mother. So she gives him the impression that their family doesn't love, her family members don't love one another. Now she thinks by this he will love her more. Little does she know that now she's giving him some weapons to use after some time. So when things go wrong, he will know, okay, yeah, so and so, that guy is not from her. They discriminate against. Even if I mistreat her, no one will speak up for her because the family is divided. So unintentionally, unconsciously, she's giving her husband weapons to use when the time comes. And actually, I've seen such things. So if your family members, whether it's good or bad, you stay together. Yes, you acknowledge he stole, but plead for mercy without revealing your secrets of the family. By revealing family secrets, you yourselves are discrediting yourselves. As we said before, if, for example, someone doesn't respect his father, if someone is speaking evil of his brother, you ask yourself, what about me? Actually, there is a book entitled How to Get What You Want. In the book, he says, if you know that in achieving your goals, you will need people on your side, begin cultivating friendship with those people. Now, he gives you the tips on doing that. He says, when you are in a gathering with your friends, don't speak evil about others. Because if you speak evil about others, people will be asking themselves, if he speaks evil about his friend, if he speaks evil about his family member, what about me? When I'm not here, he will also speak evil of me. So you are sending a message to them, to those who are listening to you, that you can't be trusted. So since you're speaking about others behind this person's back, you can also speak against them. So they were supposed to acknowledge it was a mistake that their brother did, but at the same time, they would have supported him in trying to appeal for mercy and try to speak positively about the family. But they didn't do that. So by this statement, they were alluding to Yusuf that he stole. Now, did Yusuf steal? Yusuf alayhi salam? As we said before, prophets and messengers are sinless. They don't commit sin. They are infallible. What they did, they committed some mistakes, but with good intentions. So, human beings, we commit sometimes mistakes intentionally. But the prophets and messengers committed mistakes unintentional, actually with good intention. For example, as we said before, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was sitting with the ringleaders of Medina, this was an auspicious occasion. He had wanted for a long time to meet with them, to convince them to become Muslims, assuming that when they believe, they will influence their followers and Islam will gain strength. So he was preoccupied with them. This is a rare occasion to meet all these people together, to talk to them. So Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who was a blind man, he comes out and says, "Oh Messenger of Allah, teach me of what Allah has taught you." So the Prophet first was angry because he was interrupted. He didn't like anyone to interrupt him. Secondly, he said, "You know, you are already a believer. I can see you anytime. This is a rare occasion." But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blamed him. عَبَسَ وَتَوَلَّى أَنْ جَاءَهُ الْأَعْمَى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, according to your finite knowledge, yes, you're concentrating on them, but according to my infinite knowledge, they are of no use. So don't neglect your supporter whom you already have because of those whom you are anticipating. And on Monday we talked about this, that this is a lesson for us. Don't neglect what you have because of expecting what you will get tomorrow. For example, a husband has quarreled with his wife, they have some issues. So he comes to his wife, he tells her, "You know, I don't like this mobile phone. Give it to your friend. After 2 weeks, I will buy you the latest mobile phone." So the poor lady, because she trusts her husband, she gives away her mobile phone. And she'll have to wait for 6 months. Where's the new mobile phone? Oh, you know, I was fired, this and that. So do not neglect what you already have because of what you expect. Or for example, if you are climbing a tree, common sense says, don't leave the branch you're holding before you hold another. So you first hold the other and then you leave this. So here it's a lesson for us that, you know, we have to treasure the relationship that we have. So there are many opinions about Yusuf stealing. So we say that prophets and messengers, even before they are appointed as prophets, even when they are still young, they don't commit sins. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was still young, he grew up in the house of Abu Talib, and Abu Talib, you know, was struggling. He didn't have enough, he didn't have wealth. He was struggling to feed the family, and the amount of food was small, so the children would fight for the food, and the Prophet ﷺ would just stay behind. Although he was hungry, when he saw children fighting, he wouldn't engage in that fight. So his common sense told him, "No, let me stay aside," until he was noticed, and then his food was kept aside. So he did a lot of things when he was still young, which were unique. And all the prophets and messengers do that. No prophet and messenger, even before being appointed as a prophet and messenger, would commit a sin. Yes, they would commit mistakes, but on good intent, with good intent, for good purposes. But according to the knowledge of Allah, they would be proven wrong. So they intended something good. For example, Nuh alayhi salam, when he was pleading for mercy for his son, Allah says no. So it wasn't bad. Yusuf alayhi salam was trying. Nuh alayhi salam was trying his best to save his son, as well as others. But Allah says no one will believe no more. So all in all, they committed mistakes with good purpose. So Yusuf, why did they say that he stole? Does anyone know why? So, what did he steal? Okay, let's see. Sa'id ibn Jubair said his maternal aunt, so his aunt from his mother's side, the aunt of Yusuf, sister of Yusuf's mother, had ordered him to steal his maternal grandfather's statue made of gold. So the grandfather of Yusuf from his mother's side had a statue, an idol, which he used to worship. His daughter, the mother of Yusuf, ordered Yusuf to steal this statue, crush it, and dump it, throw it away. So according to Mujahid, she instructed him to break it and then dump it on the roadside. So is it bad? Someone is worshipping an idol, a statue, and then you come and you break it, you throw it away. Is it bad? Or is it theft? What's real theft? What do you regard as theft? Or why is theft haram in Islam? What are the reasons why it's haram to steal from someone? Do you know the reasons why stealing is haram?
Taking something without permission?
Yes, taking something without someone's permission. So this person will be emotionally charged because he doesn't know where his property is. So you're making this person sad, and you're the cause of the sadness of this person. And what you're supposed to do as believers to bring happiness to the people. So you're causing a person to be sad. This is an offense. What else? What else?
Stolen to others.
Doing what?
Stolen to other things. What is the reason of haram? What is the question?
Yeah, the question is, why is it haram to steal from someone? So the sister said because the person will be sad, something that he worked for a long time, and taking it and he doesn't know where it is, he will keep looking for it, he doesn't find it.
because of it's not our property, it's other property.
So this is greed. So we are striving to take someone's property illicitly, something which we didn't work for. So, and this is encouraging us to be lazy. So you're just there spotting who has what to go and steal from him, and you're being lazy. And by being lazy, doing nothing, this is detrimental to your health. Before even the day of judgment, when you'll be questioned, how did you invest your time? What else?
It's not only the property side, it's a question of ownership.
It's a question of ownership.
So it's a bit more subtle than that. So you can have something, but it doesn't mean to say you're the owner. Right? It could be somebody else's.
Yeah,
so
actually,
the idol,
yes.
He's not the owner of the idol. It's an illegal ownership.
Yeah, it's illegal ownership, one. And actually, by worshipping the idol, he's disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by worshipping the idol, he's encouraging others to do the same. He's spreading mischief implicitly or directly to the people that they can also worship idols. By worshipping this idol, he's wasting his time, which can be invested in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all in all, by stealing the idol, this man is not suffering in any way. So Yusuf was even doing him a favor by stealing the idol. For example, imagine someone buys a very expensive knife. Your relative, maybe your brother, your sister, or your cousin. And this person says, you know, I have suffered a lot in life. No one is helping me. Tomorrow I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to use this knife to kill myself. And you steal it from him. Isn't it a favor done to that person? Ibrahim alayhi salam, he crushed the idols. And when they came, he said, ask them. The biggest one is the one who crushed the others. Because he wanted them to come to their senses. So whatever they said, this doesn't hold water. On the other hand, Ibn Jurayj said, it was Yusuf's mother, a believer herself, who ordered him to steal his maternal uncle's statue that he used to worship and throw it away. So another account was maternal aunt, sister of his mother. Another account was his mother. Ibn Isa said he used to take food from his father's house in order to feed the poor and the needy. So they have food in the house, extra food, without permission of his father, he takes to feed the poor and the needy. And actually, in Islam, you're allowed to do that if there is an emergency. For example, someone is going to die, your father isn't there, there is no communication channels in which you can ask him permission easily, and even if he says no, when someone is going to die, we give priority to the life. So it's allowed in Islam sometimes to take something by force in order to save life, even to steal in order to save life. So if the purpose is saving life, we are allowed, this is allowed. Then Ibn Isa, we have already discussed this. Mujahid said, due to the fact that his paternal aunt loved him very much and so didn't want his father to take him away, she inserted her girdle into his clothes, her waistband. You know, some women like to wear waistbands like this. So according to Mujahid, his aunt, sister of his father, used to have a waistband like this. So now it was time. Yusuf was with her, living with her. She loved him very much. She didn't want to get rid of him, or she didn't want anyone to take him. So she said, what do I do? His father is insisting to take him away. So secretly, she inserted her waistband into his bag, and when they searched, they found it. So according to the rule of the land, you have to serve the person. So Yusuf served her until she died. So can we call all this theft, which they alluded to? And actually, the most apparent opinion is that of the idol. So he took the idol from his grandfather, crushed it, and threw it away. So this is what they're calling theft, which isn't. And you know, when someone doesn't like you, they will always frame you with things which are nonsense. So commenting on the aforestated opinions, Al-Hasan al-Basri said, Yusuf's brothers lied in everything they accused him of. Everything they accused him of, they lied. So he wasn't a thief, he didn't steal. So whatever he was doing, it was for good of the people he was working for. And if he was accused of stealing a waistband, he didn't know. And actually, probably this is where he got the idea what he did to Benjamin, to order his servants to insert his royal cap secretly in the bag of Benjamin. Maybe he got the idea from what his paternal aunt did to him when he was still young. So what was Yusuf's implicit response to that? So they say, if he steals, then his brother had also stole. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَصِفُونَ. But Yusuf expressed his outrage at this within himself. So in himself he was angry, and did not disclose his reply to them. In his heart he said, "You are in the worst evil position, and Allah Himself knows best about what you claim." So you are claiming that I stole, but I was doing it for the good of the people. I was doing it for the sake of Allah. Stealing, for example, an idol. I don't entertain any idea of anyone worshipping other than Allah. So I had to still crush it. And actually, it was not stealing, and I was saving that man. So this means Yusuf didn't encounter them in self-defense by saying something that offended them or behaving in a way that would hurt their feelings. Rather, he suppressed his anger. In his response, he implicitly said, "You are in the worst evil position in that you are slandering and defending us of an offense that is insignificant compared to what you committed." Now, they're accusing Yusuf, he stole Benjamin. So, stealing and being determined to kill your brother, which is worse? So they did worse than Yusuf, they did worse than Benjamin. So they don't have to say anything. And actually, this is something that you learn from, as we will discuss it before. Always a person who is negative, always a criminal will think that others are criminals like him. So for example, if someone praises someone, every time he praises someone, this person is good, he doesn't lie. This person is good, he doesn't, every time he doesn't lie. It means he's a liar, according to psychology. So why don't you just say, this person is a very honest man? Why don't you be positive? Why he doesn't lie? Why you use the word lie? So if you ponder or you look deep into the life of this person who always mentions he doesn't lie, you'll find that he is a liar. So the point here, Yusuf is saying, in his heart, they wanted to kill me, they mistreated my brother, they sold me as a slave, and now they are accusing me of theft. Yet deep down in their hearts, they know it wasn't theft because they just want to distance themselves from us. So Yusuf but he didn't explain it to them. He didn't react negatively to them. He was composed as he used to be. And actually, again, this is knowledge that makes him serene, humble, reacting in a positive way. So his knowledge had an impact on him. So Yusuf didn't want to offend him. He doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Do you know why? So they're saying bad stuff, alluding to yet. At this point, they don't know him. They don't know that he is Yusuf. But they're just talking about him. Imagine being with someone who doesn't know who you are, and they start abusing you in front of them. You know, there's a teacher who had a Western nationality, and he went to teach some third world countries. He was originally from that country where he went to teach. But according to his mentality, if he revealed his identity, his students wouldn't respect him, or the management wouldn't give him a good salary. So he kept hiding his identity. Where are you from? In Canada. Where are you from? So the students, from his features, they doubted that this guy is from here, although he denies having any connection in this area. So they started, every time he comes to the class in their language, they're abusing him, saying bad stuff, until one day he reacted. So he was patient for some time, but someday you think I don't know the language, he messed up everything. So you can't hide some things, you can't hide them. But Yusuf was well contained. Whatever they said about him, he was well composed because he had a purpose. And actually, this is a lesson to us. Don't react to everything that you hear. Don't react to everything that is done to you. If you have a purpose in your mind, something that you want to achieve, focus on it. You know, there is a quote that says, if you're traveling a long distance and on your way there are dogs barking, and if you keep pelting each barking dog with a stone, when are you going to arrive at your destination? So you just ignore, you have a purpose, you concentrate on your purpose. So Yusuf heard all this, he has a purpose, he wants to unite his family, he's a prophet, he has a bigger picture, he has good intentions, so he ignored all this because he knows time will come when they will know the truth, they will be embarrassed. So Yusuf alayhi salam said what they did, in himself he said what they did was worse than what they were accusing him of. I have some quotes here. One says, you have to defend your honor and your family. You have to defend your honor and your family. Another one says, before you say something, think how you would feel if someone said it to you. Before you say something, think how you would feel if someone said it to you. So now they start to plead with Yusuf to forgive their half brother. But now it's futile because at the beginning they started accusing Yusuf himself, the high minister, and again they disclosed some of the secrets of their family, and now in the end they're pleading for mercy. So what did they say? قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إن نراك من المحسنين. They said, "Oh high minister, truly he has an aged father, well advanced in years. So take one of us in his place. Indeed, we see that you are of those who excel in doing good." So now when they need him, they're saying, "We see you excelling in doing good." After they had slandered him unknowingly that he also stole. So the same person they're saying, "You are excelling in doing good." So he's keeping all this in his heart. He doesn't taunt them, he doesn't rebuke them because he has a high purpose. So this verse refers to what they told the high minister, trying to elicit his sympathy and kindness. So their father is an old man, he will be dejected when they go without Benjamin. They requested Yusuf to retain one of them in lieu of their half brother. So they said, instead of him, let someone remain behind. Little did they know that Yusuf just wanted Benjamin. This was a plan. And this is a lesson for us. If you insist to someone to do something, you plead with that person to forgive you or to do this and that, or before that, is it right someone to be punished in lieu of the other? So someone committed a crime and I come as his brother and say punish me instead of him? Is it right? No. Why isn't it right? Or what are the motives, the reasons of punishing a criminal? Why is the criminal punished? Justice. So, and why should justice prevail? What's the wisdom behind justice? So someone steals, someone kills, someone does this and that, we punish them. So what are the aims of punishing criminals? So it is a deterrent for the others, because if someone commits a crime today and he's unpunished, so you are motivating others also to commit crimes. So it is a deterrent for others not to commit crime, number one. This doesn't mean that, when someone commits a crime, we enjoy punishing him. It's not necessarily enjoyment, it's just to deter the others from thinking even of committing the crime. What else? Why do we punish criminals? Where there is justice, there is peace. So if we leave people unpunished, people will continue committing sins unabated, committing crimes, and peace won't prevail. If someone kills someone today, a distant relative or someone whom you know, and you condone it because you don't know the victim, time will come when he will kill your family member. So we have to nip it in the bud. One. Number two, what else?
Freedom and freedom and rights.
Yeah, to give people their rights.
Freedoms and rights.
Yeah, so to give the rights of the people. And you know what? Islam came to protect 5 things. Does anyone remember one of them? 5 things that were protected by Islam.
Protect his life.
Life.
And his respect.
Life. Wealth. Life, wealth, religion. Lineage. And then, so life. First religion. Life.
And
wealth. So religion, life, wealth,
and there are things.
Honor and dignity.
Honor.
And then what? Lineage, family. Okay, so anyone's property has to be protected, whether he's a Muslim or not. So the property of anyone. So if anyone steals and you don't punish him, we are not actually putting measures to protect people's property. Now, is it only enough to punish someone for committing a crime, or there are some other things that we have to do to make sure that peace reigns? Is it enough punishing someone? No, it's not enough. We have to correct what's wrong. In other words, we have to work towards rehabilitating the criminal. So and rehabilitating the criminal, we have to do an extensive research on why he committed the crime. For example, there is a book entitled The Third Alternative. In this book, they said in a particular city in Canada, they did a study on crime rates, and they discovered that the Sikhs were at the top of committing crimes. So they had to do a study. Why? And the response was they were discriminated against. And the justice wouldn't help them. Every time they report, nothing happens. So they decided to defend themselves. So in other words, we have to look at the roots of the crime. Why is it committed and prevent it from the roots? Because even if you just punish someone, he will get used to the punishment. You punish him today, tomorrow he commits it. So it's not enough. All in all, so if at all Yusuf's full brother stole, no one would be punished in lieu of him because they wanted him to get to feel the pain of stealing, to learn a lesson that isn't good, and for others also to learn lessons. Because it would be a bad precedent if someone steals and then you punish another one in lieu of him. Some people would agree that, you know, you're stronger than me, I will steal, I will keep the money, so you'll be punished for some time after you come out of the jail, we distribute the money. So it would be a bad precedent. So for these reasons, and of course the aim of Yusuf was to stay with his brother, and his brother didn't steal, as we know, but we're just discussing. So they say, oh High Minister, truly he has an aged father, well advanced in years, so take one of us in his place. Indeed, we see that you are of those who excel in doing good. So this verse refers to what they told the High Minister, trying to elicit his sympathy and kindness. They requested him to retain one of them in lieu of Benjamin, their half-brother, who was accused of seemingly stealing. He didn't steal, though he was accusing of that. So how did Yusuf respond? Yusuf said, Ma'az Allah. Ma'az Allah sometimes is translated as God forbid. May Allah forbid it. It won't happen. معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذا لظالمون. He said, Allah is my refuge to prevent me from taking anyone except the one with whom we found our possession. Were we to take anyone other than the one with whom we found our belongings, then indeed we would be unjust. This would be injustice. Whether the person is willing or not, this is injustice because you're punishing someone who didn't commit the crime. So by this he meant we don't take an innocent person in lieu of the culprit. And actually I have some quotes here. One says, it is better to risk saving a guilty man than to condemn an innocent person. It's better to risk saving a guilty man than to condemn an innocent one. And actually they did condemn. There is a simple way to solve the crime. There is a simple way to solve the crime problem. Obey the law, punish those who do not obey the law. And another one says, don't play the victim to circumstances that you created. To some extent, Yusuf's brothers created the circumstances in which their half-brother stole. Can anyone explain how? So you created the circumstances of a crime, then when it happens, complain. Does anyone know why? Why Yusuf's half-brothers, they created the circumstances of theft being thought of and being implemented.
Because they broke up the family. They tried to rid Yusuf from.
Yeah, they tried to get rid of Yusuf.
So
yes.
This was the comeuppance in his own.
Yes, yes. So in the beginning, they wanted to get rid of Yusuf. They tried their best until their elder brother advised them to leave him in a dry well. Number two, they were mistreating Benjamin. So because they were mistreating Benjamin and he had complained to Yusuf, his father, then they had to think about a solution. You know, there is a couple that came to me last week. They're having problems, husband and wife. 2 years back, they came here to marry. They were very happy, but last week they were very angry. They want to divorce one another. But both of them were wrong. They created the circumstances of divorce. So, in other words, each one of them was admitting to his mistakes, her mistake, his mistake. So they did something wrong, which eventually ended in divorce. So, if they didn't mistreat Yusuf, if they didn't mistreat Benjamin, Yusuf wouldn't have thought of keeping his brother by means of accusing him of stealing. So they created these circumstances. So if anything happens, sometimes you have to evaluate yourself. Why does it happen? For example, your son is going to the school. He has friends whose fathers are always giving them pocket money. You don't give your son pocket money and he wants to show off. If he steals from you, will you complain? Or if he steals from someone, will he complain? Yet he has friends who are going with money. So at least find a solution to the problem. Because if you ignore him every time he comes to you to ask for pocket money, you abuse him, you shout at him, he will find another way. And another way won't be good. So always we have to make sure we are in an environment that does not encourage sins. If we find ourselves victim of circumstances we created, then we blame ourselves. So as soon as he said, after that, Yusuf told them thus: when you meet your father, convey my greetings of peace to him, and inform him that the king of Egypt is invoking Allah that you shouldn't die until you meet your son Yusuf. So this is Yusuf himself is telling them, when you meet my father, tell him that the king of Egypt is conveying his sincere greetings to you, and he is praying to Allah that you should not die until you meet Yusuf. So according to As-Sudi, his motive for saying that was to bring to Yaqub's attention, his father, that there was as well some upright and truthful people in Egypt like him. There were good people who were caring about his well-being, who were praying for him, at least to alleviate some pain. So what do we learn from this? What do we learn from this? So Yusuf himself, he knows his father will be dejected, but he has a high purpose. So before his brothers leave, he tell them, tell my father, the king of Egypt, extends his greetings to you and prays to God that you should not die until you meet your son Yusuf. So this is to show him that the king of Egypt he knew about him, he was caring about him, and he also knew about Yusuf. So this would create some questions and actually would give him some comfort that now the king knows about Yusuf. Maybe he will help me if we go to him. Maybe he will do this. So giving him hope. What do we learn from this? Giving somebody hope. You know, in the tafsir class, on Monday, we discussed some acts of worship which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you if you do them as if you give charity. The first one, the man who was asking the Prophet ﷺ, what can I do to enter paradise and to be away from the hellfire? The Prophet said, Al-Iman billah, believe in Allah. And then the man says, with belief there is action. So what action did the Prophet tell him, advise him to do? So the man wants to be safe from the hellfire, to go to paradise. The Prophet tells him, believe in Allah. The man says, yes, I will believe in Allah, but with belief, there is an action which has to confirm my belief. So which action shall I do? The Prophet, what did he say? He said, give from what you have, give sadaqah, give charity. The man says, I'm poor, I can't give charity. The Prophet said, what? Help someone. So the Prophet says, if I can't help someone, he says, enjoin what's good and forbid evil. If I'm not educated, the Prophet says, fight for the rights of those who are mistreated. The man says, it goes on and on. And finally, the Prophet says, if you can't do all of this, at least don't harm anyone. So avoiding harming someone is an act of worship. You get the words. If you can't benefit someone, at least don't harm him. So Yusuf alayhi salam at this time, he knows. At this time, he won't benefit his father, but at least he wants to alleviate some of the pain. To say that, I'm praying for you, I'm extending my greetings to you, and this was something big, to get greetings from a king from somewhere. And then I pray to Allah that you shouldn't die before you meet with your son, Yusuf. So this would arise the curiosity of Yaqub. How did the king come to know about Yusuf? Maybe he's still alive, at least to give him hope. So we should always give people hope. If someone comes to beg from you, you don't have any help, say good words to them. Don't shout at them, don't yell at them, don't rebuke them, at least advise them. By advising them, saying good words, you are actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened after their request was turned down? They were desperate. They wanted someone to remain behind. But Yusuf said no. So Allah tells us, فَلَمَّا اسْتَيْأَسُوا مِنْهُ خَلَصُوا نَجِيًّا قَالَ كَبِيرُهُمْ أَلَمْ تَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَبَاكُمْ قَدْ أَخَذَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَوْثِقًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَمِنْ قَبْلُ مَا فَرَّطْتُمْ فِي يُوسُفَ فَلَنْ أَبْرَحَ الْأَرْضَ حَتَّى يَأْذَنَ لِي أَبِي أَوْ يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ لِي وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. So when they despaired of him, of Yusuf, relenting, agreeing to keep one of them behind, they withdrew, conferring privately. So they went to a private place, talking with one another, brainstorming on what to do. So the eldest of them said, do you know that your father has taken from you a solemn vow before Allah, and that you deserted Yusuf before? Therefore never will I leave this land until my father permits me, or Allah determines it for me. And he is the very best of judges. So their eldest brother, said, since Yusuf has not allowed anyone to remain or to be punished in lieu of Benjamin, I'm going to stay here. I will not go, because I've taken, I have sworn solemn oath before my father in the name of Allah that we will bring our brother. So without my brother, without our brother, I will not go with you. I will stay behind. So after they had despaired of him, they secluded themselves for a private consultation. the eldest among them said, "Do you know that your father has taken upon you an oath by Allah, and that before you fail to take back Yusuf, so I will never leave this land until my father permits me, or Allah decides for me, and he is the best of the judges." So their eldest son by the name, their eldest brother by the name Reuben, decided to stay back. Actually, people didn't allow him to stay back, and they said he cried bitterly until Yusuf said, "Okay, now stay." So we will end with this regarding the eldest brother who decided to remain behind because they had taken oaths from their father. He didn't like to go without Yusuf. According to Mujahid, the eldest son of Yaqub alluded to in the verse above was Simeon, and thus he stayed behind. So according to Mujahid, it was Simeon. According to As-Sudi, Simeon was the most knowledgeable of all of them. However, Reuben was older than him in age. On the other hand, Qatada opined that the eldest brother alluded to in the verse was Reuben, who had earlier advised his brothers not to kill Yusuf, but rather to cast him down into a dry well. Abu Ja'far asserted that the most credible opinion is the one that maintains that Reuben was the eldest brother and thus stayed behind. He went on to say that the majority of scholars and historians support this opinion. So according to him, to Abu Ja'far, those scholars and historians who just justified their opinion by stating when an Arab says that so and so is the eldest of the people, if he doesn't qualify the statement, then it would imply one of the two meanings. Either he is the eldest in terms of leadership or prestige or high rank, or he is the eldest in age. However, whenever they want to refer to someone as the eldest in terms of intelligence or cleverness or mental ability, they always qualify it with that. In other words, what Abu Ja'far is saying, when the Arabs say "Hada kabiruna," it means the eldest in age. But if they want to mean that he is our eldest in intelligence or in cleverness, they will always add it, "Hada kabiruna fil ilm." So, which means Reuben was the firstborn and was the more intelligent person who decided to stay behind. And in the beginning, if you remember, he's the one who suggested to his brothers not to kill Yusuf, but rather to leave him in a dry well. So Reuben, the eldest son, decided to stay. And actually, as we said, your knowledge has to have impact. So his conscience was telling him it's not fair. You promised your father, you swore an oath that you'll bring your brother back, so you have to stay. Number one, because you swore to bring your brother back, without him you can't go back. And number two, you have to see what will happen to Benjamin. If they're going to mistreat him, if something wrong will happen. So at least you're watching over him to feed your family, update them with news of what's happening to your brother. So we will end here and we will continue inshallah next week. If you have any comments or questions, you can ask. Any comments or questions? Yes, brother.
Why would Yusuf alayhi salam mention Yusuf in the message to pass to his father? Because that would give something away. I'm trying to understand why he would give the message to his brothers, tell your father that so and so, or don't die until the king says something, until you see Yusuf. But why would he mention that? Because wouldn't it be a bit strange?
Okay. Number one, the aim of that, his father was apprehensive of that land of Egypt because that the people were not believers, no good people were there. So he's giving him a message that there are good people as well, so that when he's told that his son Benjamin is told he's there, at least he knows there are good people, maybe he will be safe, rather than just knowing that all people are evil. Number two, according to some cultures, if you mention someone's son's name or someone's relative's name in front of him, especially if this relative had disappeared, this person would be happy and would question, how did he know about my son? And these questions would make him curious, wanting to know more. How did he know about Yusuf? So that the next time he is invited, he is willing to go to find out, to ask the king, how did you know about my son? Please, can you help me? So the first step is, yes, I go to find out how did the king know about my son. Then tell him about my problem, my plight. Perhaps he can help me. And number three, to assure him that the king is praying for him. And actually, Yaqub being a prophet and a messenger, they treasure prayer. Every righteous person, when you tell them that you pray for them, they will be very happy. So for these reasons, and also to give his father hope, not to lose hope completely, that the king over there knows you, is caring about your well-being, he knows about what happened to your son, and he is a king, probably he would help you in searching for your son, because Yaqub didn't lose hope completely. He had the feeling that his son is somewhere. And actually, if you remember in the Quran, he said, "Asa Allahu an ya'tiyani bihim jami'a." Perhaps Allah will bring them all to me. He was alluding to Yusuf, Benjamin, and Reuben. So he said he didn't lose hope. As a prophet, he was feeling that they were there. And now when Yusuf says, "I'm praying for you, and I pray to Allah that you won't die before you see your son," so he's increasing his hopes of finding his son. And actually, prophets were not only messengers, they were not only reformers, but they knew a lot about human psychology, which is very important. They knew a lot about human psychology. And the problem is what? I always say that in schools and universities, they teach us historical facts, how to maintain gadgets, how to operate them, but rarely do they teach us how to deal with our fellow human beings. Dealing with human beings is a complex issue. And sometimes we don't get what we want because we don't know how to deal with the people we want some things from. And actually I've seen a lot of, for example, just as an example, in the book entitled, How to Get What You Want, they say if you know that someone might help you, try to cultivate friendship with this person, be interested in him. So if he has a problem, help him. If he needs something, help him. So after you earn his trust, then you are in position of getting what you want from him. And even when you need something from him, don't ask directly. So you need two things, you go by the second. So if the second one is less important to you, you go with the less important. So if he says no to the less important thing, after some time when you ask him the more important, he will feel embarrassed to say no to you. So he will give it to you. So they give some tips. We don't follow that. Things that we have to be taught in schools, in universities, at workplaces, we neglect it. So most of the time, we don't get what we want because of the approach. So we failed to learn the human mentality. And this is a shame. What else? Yes, sister?
It was also sending this message was giving the father hope that like he is going to be very sad that two of his sons are remaining behind. At the same time, he's getting news about Yusuf, not to die before meeting Yusuf. This will give him hope or release his pain.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Yes, brother.
He says the king gives his greetings. Who is he referring to?
Okay. Actually, here he was referring to himself, but he just wanted his father to have the impression that he was the king. And why was he referring to himself? If you remember, when he was appointed a high minister, the king gave him all the powers to do whatever he wanted. So since he has all the powers, he's at par with the king, and sometimes his decision goes, the king decides something and Yusuf something else, the decision of Yusuf would go. So he was alluding to himself because of the infinite powers he had. But he didn't want to tell him Yusuf, and because at this time he didn't want his brothers to know, anyone to know, he just wanted it to be a surprise. So he uses what they call a tawriya. Tawriya, this is equivocation. So to use one word which has a lot of connotations. For example, the Prophet ﷺ in one of the battles, when he and Abu Bakr were scouting the area to look for the enemies and to try to ascertain who was there trying to invade the Muslims, they met a Bedouin. So they asked a Bedouin to introduce himself, and the Bedouin says, you introduce yourself first. He's asking the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet says, ﷺ, you introduce yourself first, then I will introduce myself. So the Bedouin introduces himself, they ask him questions, where is the enemy? He gives them all the information, and finally he asks, who are you? And the Prophet says, I'm from water. Did he lie? No. So the Bedouin goes, maybe it's a well in Iraq, maybe it's a well in the Ana min al-ma. So the Prophet didn't lie, we're all created from water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَقَدْ وَمِنَ الْمَاءِ خَلَقْ وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ مَاءٍ. We created everything from water. So Yusuf alayhi salam here is also using a tawriya, the king, because he had the power, ultimate powers, which were invested in him with the king. So he just doesn't want to mention his name, and he doesn't want to mention Al-Azlam, just is mentioning the title, king. So his father has the impression the king of Egypt, and actually when they will arrive there, they will see Yusuf in the position of a king because he controls everything. Any other questions or comments? Yes, yes.
Why is it allowed, Yaqub, that the other brothers mistreat Yusuf and Benjamin?
Okay, you know the problem is siblings when they are together, they're very clever. I should say they are shrewd. When they're with the father, they will claim, we love our brother, play. But when the father goes somewhere, they remain alone, then they will mistreat. It's like, for example, if someone had a wife, from her he had a child and the wife died and he marries a second wife, not all the second wives are bad by the way, and in front of the husband she will say, oh no, she will say that she loves this boy of the other woman, but when the father goes out, you see the hell will be in the house. So the father, yes, when he was there, they would claim they were treating him well, but when the father was absent, they would do what they wanted. So remember, for example, when they were pleading with their father to let Yusuf go with them to play, they were showing this good, we want him to play with us, to enjoy this and that. But see what they did when they were alone with him. The moment they moved from the house, they started kicking him, abusing him, taunting him, and these were the people who were giving assurances to their father that they wanted him to play with them. They were concerned about his well-being. So in his presence, they claimed they love Benjamin. During his absence, they do whatever they wanted. Yes.
During the plot of throwing him into the water, was Benjamin with them? Or no?
No, he was behind. He didn't go with them. Actually, their father didn't allow Benjamin to go. He was young. Yeah, he didn't allow him to go. Because the rationale of that, Jacob said, if Benjamin, because he loved both Yusuf and Benjamin more than anyone, more than the other children. So he didn't want both of them to go. So what remains for him? Even after it was said that Yusuf was killed during the disappearance of Yusuf, he would always smell the scent of Benjamin, and this would somehow comfort him. Now the question is, was it discrimination for their father to love Benjamin and Yusuf more than anyone else? More than other children? So we say it was discrimination. So who can answer this?
Yes. I think he had a reason for them because they had no mother, only father.
So
they had to play both.
Yeah, he had to play both. Mother's love and father's love. For the others, they had their mother and love. And they were many, they were bigger, these were younger. So Yusuf and Benjamin, they were the youngest. And actually, when you have children, you love the youngest more because the bigger ones, they got their share of love when they were young. But when they grow up, they become strong. You trust them, you focus on the young ones, especially if they don't have a mother in the house. Now, another thing is they were intelligent. They were righteous, sincere, more intelligent than others. So because of their qualities, he loved them, not because of their personality. You know, there's an Islamic studies teacher who was teaching equality to his students. And he was telling them we should not discriminate against anyone. We have to treat each and everyone the same. But the students were noticing that he was focusing more on one particular student. So after some time they said, sir, you're always encouraging us to be fair, and you said that Islam is about equality, but we see you giving more quality time to so and so. So the teacher did not want to answer verbally, he wanted to demonstrate practically why he gave that attention to the boy. So he gave each one a bird and a knife. He said, you go and slaughter these birds in a place where no one will see you. Make sure no one sees you, then slaughter. All of them went and slaughtered. They came back. Did you slaughter? Yes. Are you sure no one saw you? No one saw us. Only that boy whom he was concentrating on more didn't slaughter. When asked, he said, I didn't find anywhere where no one would see me because Allah is watching over me all the time. And the teacher said, this is why I concentrate on him, because of his fear of Allah. And if someone fears Allah, we love him more than anyone else. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you fear him more than anyone else, he will love you more than anyone else. So they were the most fearful, the youngest, without mother. So they had all the qualities that would make their father love them more than others. So Jazakumullah khair, see you inshallah on Monday. And for those of you who have time during morning hours, we've started a class, actually a course, every Wednesday from 11 to 12 about purification and prayer. And actually when we talk about purification, it's not only tahara by performing wudu. Ghusl is how to purify your heart from vices like jealousy, envy, among others. So the class is designed in a different way, not like any other classes, in which you learn about psychology, about Islam, and a lot of things. Even about things which we take for granted, when you perform ablution, wudu before you pray, how does it help your immune system? So if you're free every Wednesday at 11 a.m. up to 12, you're most welcome. And after 3 months, we'll give certificates to the most frequent attendees. Jazakumullah khair.